Hello, thank you for tuning into this week's section of reads. This should be on the YouTube channel of James 13 Wicca, in case you're seeing it somewhere else. The dice and decks I'm using are also listed below. Other than that, if you'd like a direct reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's also below. Thank you very much for watching, and let's get into your selection. Hello, Libra. Thank you very much for tuning into this week's read. These readings are valid for whenever you come to them. That being said, what do we have for Libra? What is that? It's the Moon card. This is Libra. Libra. My first thought is there's a lot of fire starting this off, which I don't think that's a bad thing. Fire is more compatible with air, and I feel like the fire we're dealing with is mostly compatible. Fire can be harsh at times. Libra's usually more cooperative. Maybe that's the way I want to put it. Libra likes to get along. You want justice, you want fairness, clearly. But I don't feel like Libra likes to start, like, rotten fights. I think Libra, like, if we need to talk it out, let's talk it out. But we can talk it out in a peaceful way and get to where we obviously should be. Libra uses reason, mostly. Why are we in it? Whatever is going on with this current situation, I feel like some fire is about to jump in. And it can be a little bit harsh, especially when it's coming up against Earth. When you think about how much fire it takes to move Earth, I think to myself of a volcano, quite frankly. Or, like, I remember this was a long time ago, somebody put a couple rocks in the fire. They wanted to heat up the rocks I forget what the reason was, but there was air pockets in the rocks. And when the air pocket heated up, I assume that's why anyway, the rock kind of exploded a little bit. Nobody got hurt, thankfully, but it exploded a little bit. And I'm just saying, when fire comes against Earth, it takes a lot of fire to move Earth. And usually it's a jump forward when it does, and it's usually not really comfortable. It's a little bit jarring. That's the whole point. Whatever's going on in this current situation, it's not really, or it hasn't really been evolving, I don't think exactly the way you wanted it to. I feel like it's been very resistant. I feel like the energy it takes to get it to move doesn't seem to be working in your favor. Because I feel like if I do the same thing every day for a year, I can get some movement, but it takes that. And it's like, that's very exhausting for Libra. Something else is coming in and it's moving things. There's a change coming forward. There's something jarring the situation forward. You don't have to get hit by the shrapnel. This is kind of like, again, I gave the fire analogy with the rock, or the campfire with the rock. You don't have to be next to the campfire. You just have to know the rock's in the campfire and just kind of keep your distance until it does what it's got to do. And then after it does, just make sure everybody's okay and then decide what needs to happen after that. I keep seeing there's a lot of fire in the center, and they're giving, like, take shelter, find sanctuary. Like, you don't have to be in the middle of this. You can just let this happen so that the change can start moving. It's like we're trying to get things moving. This is going to, like, jumpstart it and get things moving. It's not going to be comfortable. This is not going to be the way you like things done. This is not how you would do it. But it's kind of like we've been working on this for quite a while. We needed to start moving. So just all you have to do is take some shelter. What's this other one? Find sanctuary. Let it happen. I keep getting let it happen. You don't have to be in the middle of it. Knight of Wands, King of Wands, Two of Wands, a lot of fire. Sometimes I read the Knight of Wands as Aries energy. You decide for yourself if that's how you feel that's right. But it can be very bold. It can be very usually Libra thinks that Aries is crass or very rude. I have a lot of Aries in my chart, so I'm cool with Aries. I like how Aries says stuff. I'm like, well, you know, they got to the point, and I kind of like it. I'm a Pisces, but still, I have some Aries placements, so I can jive with that. Libra's kind of like, no, that didn't need to be say that. You didn't need to say it that way, or that didn't need to happen that way. The Aries energy typically runs in and just fixes it, just no matter what it looks like. Just kind of, we're just gonna throw it all out and start new if we have to. They don't play nice about it, and that's not usually Libra's flavor. It's just an opposite energy. Doesn't have to mean you're dealing with Aries, but that might be the flavor that comes in and kind of jars it forward that you don't really want to watch. But I do get that this is what's going to change things. This is going to create a lot of motion here, and it's kind of like once things get kind of blown out of proportion, that's when we can start cleaning it up and pulling it back where it's supposed to be. And like, instead of like leaving everything where it was and just putting it back where it was, we can take all the things that fell apart and start putting them where you think they should have been anyway, or where you'd like to see them go next, instead of putting them back where they were. The environment doesn't seem to have much direction. Well, okay, hold on. Hold on. Could I have this card? Thank you. 5 of Wands. Another fire card that talks about conflict. And then the Empress coming in like this. It doesn't have to go this way. It doesn't have to go this way. It doesn't have to go this way. If it's left on its own too long, finding sanctuary and taking shelter in the beginning is fine, but it's kind of like, if I'm using the campfire analogy again, it's kind of like staying away from the campfire until I hear it's kind of exploded. The rock exploded. Whatever. Just, you know what I mean? It went down. Whatever it was went down. As soon as it's done, kind of like taking a look, like, and then asking, are there any other rocks in the fire? Like, what was that? Was there anything else? What are you doing over there? Okay. Finding out immediately if there's any more danger, and then not letting it sit and start cleaning it up. It may not be the most comfortable. The rocks are probably still hot, but you know, you get yourself a pot holder or a shovel, whatever you got to do, and you can handle it fairly safely. If you leave it to itself, it's kind of like one of these rocks gets flung in somewhere where it shouldn't be, and it could start a fire that we don't really want to deal with. If you immediately kind of go, wait a minute, is there any more? How many more rocks are in that fire? Everybody okay? What's going on? Where did it fall? Okay, I see it. It's burning the side of that tent. So like, get it off that tent, put that out. We can fix that relatively quickly. That's not that bad. Versus if we just let it stay there and it not only caught that tent, but everything around it on fire. You know what I'm saying? So as long as you don't leave it too long, this doesn't have to go out of control. The longer you leave it, the more likely it could get out of control. The further it goes, the more of a mess that has to be cleaned up afterwards, which that's not going to work to your benefit. I feel like we're losing more resource than we're getting advantage. So keep that in mind. So like, find sanctuary until it goes off. Once it goes off, let's get in there and let's like, all right, let's shut it down and let's start moving things where I feel like they'd be better if they're, instead of it going back over there, let's put it over here and let's move this around like that, if that makes sense. So like, finding sanctuary until it goes off and then getting right in there. And if you don't, it's going to become a big mess. Once the proper point comes where you can put the work in, did I already say this? Okay. Because there's going to be the urge to like, I'm going to wait till I'm completely sure the dust is settled before I step in there. I just gave the analogy why that's not a good idea, because it could get really crazy and get even worse. We don't need this. We don't need that. You're not going to like that. And I didn't realize I was already talking to this, but getting in there as soon as you feel like it's safe, and you can make it, is this rude to say this way? You can make it confusing if you want to. Not in a, like, sometimes it's better if people don't understand what's really going on, because it keeps them from going off on tangents that are not necessary. So, like, I'm probably using poor words to describe this, but, like, letting them be confused so you can figure out what happened, and then you can help people understand what happened is better than people kind of going off the handle and believing something happened that didn't happen and making things a lot worse. Does that make sense? Did I make sense with that? Letting people know that, like, you know, things are a little confusing right now, but I got it under control. I'm looking into it. You do this and get that safe. You do that and get that safe, and I'll find out what's going on, and I'll make sure we're all going to be safe. But you handle this, you handle that. This, like, I feel like the wandering path is like I'm splitting people up, kind of like keeping them from getting too close to each other, because I'm like, if they get talking to each other, they may not have bad intentions, but they don't see things the same way, and they're going to set each other off, and then we have bigger problems. So that wandering path with the Knight of Swords, I keep getting like, I want to confuse people temporarily, not in a bad way, but just in a sense where I get them to kind of calm down and let me figure out what's going on, and then I can bring it back in a peaceful way so that so we don't have to have extra conflict that's not necessary. Again, I think I already said this, but in case I needed to say it that way, I don't know, does it sound manipulative the way I said it? I don't mean for it to, but if that's what it was, then I guess that's what it was. It's to calm it down, get people to leave each other alone. Let's let the dust settle once we know everything is safe. Let's make sure everything is safe. Once everything is safe, let's let the dust settle. Then we'll come back when we're all calm, we all feel safe, and we can talk about things in a more calm, rational manner. This could be a temporary burden for you that's going to have a really good outcome, because I feel like this is a lot of work at this point. If you're getting this far and it's going this way, it is a lot of work to keep these people chill. Can you do it? Yes. Is it stressful? Yes. Is it worth it? Yes, because you'll help the situation go where it should go. I don't feel like it's the most enjoyable situation for you, but it's going to have a lot of benefit for you. The Devil card is, I don't feel like this is anything you got to fear. I feel like the Devil card is just highlighting, like, there's some very rigid boundaries here. As long as you identify and recognize these boundaries and stay within them, it doesn't have to be that bad. Recognize the boundaries in the beginning. Realize that they're rigid. They're not forgiving. It's like, you know, when they say, like, don't go past the property line, and meanwhile the property line is a 50-foot drop. Like, don't go past that property line, because if you do, you're going to fall 50 feet. Don't do it. So, you know what I mean? That's, as long as you're like, okay, don't go. In fact, instead of me not going near that property line, I'm going to make sure I stay like a mile away from it. I'm not even going to look at it. As long as you understand your boundaries and how rigid they are, you'll be fine. It doesn't have to be that bad. It is a little uncomfortable, because every now and then you're like, if I veer over there a little bit more, there could be some advantages, but also if I veer over there a little bit more, I'm at risk of those rigid boundaries. All right, I won't do that. You know what I mean? That stuff is there. Once this gets to the other end of it, let's just see. Because it feels good, but you got the Moon card, which talks about some mystery, sometimes psychic ability, just to be fair. It can talk about people opening up to creativity sometimes too. Also, you got the 10 of Pentacles coming in, where we're stabilizing and feeling more secure with each other. There may be something here where, if it's possible, you are the go-between between some sections. That view from above is kind of like, sometimes people get along better when they don't know what each other are doing. This reminds me of some family situations where if certain people stay away from each other and you're the go-between between them, you know how to say things to each section, and you know how to handle things to keep everybody getting along. At least I know some people that, like, if they talk directly, there doesn't have to be literally anything wrong. It's all about the way they say things. The next thing you know, this one's offended, and then that one's offended. Meanwhile, you from the outside are watching it going, that wasn't meant that way. That person didn't mean it that way, but I understood how they took it. Then this person said something back thinking they were retaliating. Then the original person got offended, and I'm like, okay, I see how that happened. It's almost like you're realizing, like, certain people, their personalities just don't work. And there may be something where we can get a lot of stability, we can get a lot of, like, sanctuary here, by possibly keeping people apart and you being the go-between when you feel necessary. It's also kind of like minimizing conversations, minimizing how much people converse that don't really get along anyway. And that's going to give you more stability here and more safety with the situation overall. Once it gets moving, we want to keep it moving, and this could help keep it moving by doing that type of version. That's the whole reason of bringing that in case I kind of lost the message there at some point for you. Because that's where we started with getting things moving. And this is about how we not only get them moving, but keep them moving. All right, I'm going to shut this down here. Hope that helps. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like a direct reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's below, same email. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.